I'm a little different. I'm sort of a straight shooter, old school. I'm a construction guy, 35 years contracting and doing all sort of big projects, mostly environmental projects and house projects of my own over the course of my since I bought my first place at 22 years old. As you can see, I'm 35, so it's been a long time. Haha. But anyways, listen, I'm not here to give you the polished sales pitch. I'm not gonna uh, give you the punchlines or what do you call it, the cliches, and then tell you everything that you think you want to hear, and then disappear later on when things get complicated. Don't have the answers, right? If you're looking for that shiny shoot sales pitch, I'm probably not your realtor, and that's okay. That's okay. You know, I'm just there's someone for everyone. I just want people to see me. I'm sort of a straight shooter, straight up guy, construction background. I am, you know. Let me just back up a bit, okay? What I wanted to talk about is like when I first came to Baja here and why I came. I came. Jesus, about 11 years now, and wow, a lot of ways it was a different place, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's it's just changed. It's a little bit more populated, a little faster pace, but still super tranquilo. I thought it was pretty getting fast paced here, and then I went for a few weeks somewhere else, came back and went, oh my God, thank God I'm back in peaceful La Paz, the peace, right? So, I guess what really drew me here, I came for a vacation to visit family in Cerritos, which is down by Todos Santos between La Paz and Los Cabos, and just the ocean and the nice clean air, the fruits, the vegetables, all the food, all the great stuff. But I think what really did it for me is we were out riding quads one day, and they were harvesting basil. Now they grow basil here. It's incredible around in Pescadero and Todos Santos area. It's Thai basil, and the leaves are massive. These huge leaves. It grows so good here, better than anywhere in the world. Anyway, they were harvesting it, and we were riding our quads out to go up into the mountains and shortcutting across what I didn't know then was the farms of Pescadero. And they were harvesting that basil, and the smell, it was so incredible. And I said right at that moment, I said, I'm going to buy a piece of property up on that hill so I could look over these farms, over these green farms every day. Because Cerritos and the desert, as you know, can get very dry when it doesn't have a lot of rain. But those farms were always green, and I just went, oh, I've got to live here. So I ended up, buying a place and building on it, bought a few places, built on them, sold them, and yeah. And then as I was selling and talking to different people and getting through it, just realized that there was a real opportunity for somebody. Back then they didn't. When I first bought, there wasn't a good MLS system. Now they have a pretty good Flex LMS MLS that are most the realtors are tied into it, and it's great when you're searching a property. Back when I bought my first place, it was actually there was a the lids on the motorhome or the trailers that let the air in. Somebody had one of those that busted off an old trailer or something, and they had written on it with a black felt marker the number and the property, and had actually just wired it up to a big cactus. I was driving around looking for properties. There's the sign I saw. So contacted the guy, looked at it, bought it. It was in Hedel property. Met the family, beautiful people, and we bought it. There was no escrow involved or any of that stuff. Just give them the deposit, hope for the best. It all worked out because they're great people and everything, but God has changed a lot. Back in those days, there's all these horror stories, like people buy a property and they think it's right here by the beach. It ends up being on the side of a hill over there. You're going to build on a slope like this, just insanity. just all these crazy things were going on. So I was lucky because I got referred a good realtor, and Felipe, he made sure that everything was tickety boo. And of course, the first thing, especially buying land here, you get a survey done, and you base everything on that and the survey. When it's a home, you base it on a home inspection. When it's land, you base it on a survey, and you go out there when you go out there when the surveyors are out there, and they're putting the pins down, and you make sure it's the same one that you thought you were buying, right? And I know people that have bought properties that were seriously like by the beach and then end up being on the hillside or out there. And then I've heard of people actually building houses and homes on a property they thought that was theirs, and they just went ahead and started building, no permit or nothing. It's Mexico. It's the Wild West. Well, you still need permits and all that, right? But anyways, it's so there was quite a lot of room. It was the Wild West, just not that long ago. Now there's a real tied-in system, and it's a lot more, with a lot more foreigners buying. I mean, there has been for a long time, but it was pretty Wild West, especially, outside of Cabo and up here, in the Wild West of Pescadero and Cerritos and Todos Santos and all that stuff, and even around La Paz area, I suppose. Uh, you know, it's really pretty good now, and there's still a lot of listings that are just with companies. They're not on the MLS. They're using Easy Broker or whatever. So I search a lot of those for people because we might run out of options on the MLS. I have relationships with a lot of the Easy Broker guys who don't pay for the flex, and they do their own thing. So we could find you a property through them too. That's actually just nothing wrong with it. It's all good, and they're legitimate bona fide realtors. They just don't use the flex, which is something maybe that you don't know. If Please look at my other video about getting a buyer's representative agent. It's very important. No matter what you do down here, you're really gonna want to do that. That's sort of the biggest thing, right? So, I'm not originally from here, obviously. I came from Canada. Can you tell by my accent yet? Um, but, if you're like me, you came down here. And at that time, I didn't know how to navigate it. I didn't even know the questions that I should ask. I had a lot of people feeding me, telling me a lot of different information. I got through it okay, but, luckily with a bit of luck and, working with the right people. I really was lucky. It's a lot easier now, and there's a lot of good realtors. There's just it's really just changed a lot since the time I started. The changes I've seen. The development, the infrastructure's better. There's just more Canadians and Americans and foreigners buying, and they're building bigger places. And before, people would just get by with very little, and you couldn't even buy a lot of the things that northerners would consider standard in a house. But now you could go to these hardware stores, have everything, right, that you could possibly imagine. It's a huge change. It's really huge. And I would say, like, don't think for a second Mexico's a third world country. It is not. You have everything you have up north and more. And you certainly have a lot more room and freedom. Anyway, there's like I said, there's a lot of us here, foreigners, selling real estate. A lot of Mexicans, AMPI registered. Good. There's really a lot of good people in the industry. There's probably still a few bad ones, of course, like, guys scamming and this and that. But, you're going to. This is one of the reasons I do these videos, just so people could get to know me. They look, and I notice all the time, people look at my bio, right? They'll sign up register on our website. I'll call, contact them, or whatever. Sometimes I don't get through, but a lot of them I notice check the bio, which there's a little write-up on me there, but doesn't really show who I am or what I am. So this is why I do these videos, so you can get to know me a little bit. And, I love too, the fact that I just show people La Paz, the neighborhoods, the markets, some of the beaches. It's not just all about real estate. I'd say 80% of it's lifestyle. And, whether you've been here or not, maybe you could watch those videos and maybe tell you a little bit about the place, or, if Baja's for you. I mean, if I can encourage anyone to come down here, I will, because I just think it's the best. I've had such a great, great life down here. Yeah. Um, you know, what makes me different? I don't know what to say. I'm not going to stand here and say I'm the only honest realtor in Baja. That would be BS. There's plenty of good ones. Um, what I will say is that I would, like, I treat, if you're buying a property, it's not completely different than everybody, but what I treat it like is like that I'm buying the property myself, right? I'm thinking, would I be happy with this title situation? Would I be comfortable with this fault in the property? Would I be comfortable with this neighborhood? Would I be comfortable with what's disclosed? More importantly, what's not disclosed? Would I want my own money going into this property? Now, that being said, I'm helping you self-discover your property that you want. I'm just not just here to close deals, right? I'm here to close the right deals. And if it, if it's just not a good deal, I really have a hard time going through with it. And I just had a situation recently where somebody was just dead set on buying a place, and I just look, you gotta walk away from this. I mean, I'm not. I what it is. Okay, look, I live here. Okay, isn't just where I work. I'm not just thinking about the transaction. It's more like you know when somebody wants to live here full time, like me. I don't want to. I don't want to have a reputation as a shyster. So it's more important to me the reputation than the sale, right? Um, and it's not just the house. It's more about lifestyle. What do you want to get out of your life being here? What are you getting? If you're just in it for investment, sure, okay, it's one thing. Yeah, good investment. We look at that, but most of the people I meet is partly or mostly what it's about is lifestyle. Have the bedrooms, the bathrooms, all that stuff. Sure, it matters, but really, what matters is the lifestyle. So I'd rather have you make the right decision than to make a quick sale, because it's a small community, is what I'm basically trying to say, to put it into more precise terms. And your success here or your frustration, it always comes back to me eventually in one form or another, right? So, very important, right? Very important. Um, I guess just, kind of explain a little bit what working with me actually looks like is, well, I'm going to give you access to the properties, of course, but first I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, right? And it's not about being nosy. I'm going to ask you, what are you worried about? What is your actual budget? That's so important. Like, if you don't want to tell me your budget, how can I help you, right? It's just one of those things. Your timeline, that's important. And it's not just important for me that, if you're a year away, I'm still happy to work with you. I'm still happy to send you properties. I'll even give you a portal link when I just don't want to work with somebody that's working with 10 other realtors, right? I'm sorry. I'm going to be honest. I'm too busy for that. And, I want to focus with the people that want to work with me. So I'm being honest about it. And anybody that, there probably are some that are different, and that's how they choose to work. But I'd rather work with less people, that I could be loyal to them and they could be loyal to me, and we'll work together, and I know what they want, and it's not just some wild goose chase of poking my stuff out there, and you know we're either serious or we're not, and your time frame doesn't matter. And if you're not serious, that's okay too. I don't mind sharing the information. I don't mind answering your questions, and I certainly don't mind showing you property, right? That's not a problem. I just like someone that's honest because I'm honest. So straight up, and like I said, I've turned down deals just because they didn't feel right. I know everyone probably doesn't do that. I don't need like I'm not desperate to get a sale. I guess I think it shows. I think people like that. They can't. People can smell desperation, and I can for sure, right? And when someone's desperate, then the hair on the back of your neck goes up, and you say, "Well, what won't this person do to get me to sign?" Or I just we've all been there. You're feeling pressured. So I hope when I come across, and I do I get coaching for this, and I read books, because it's how you ask the questions, and it's how you make people feel comfortable that you can actually get the answers. Because what I really don't want is to come across like I'm trying to pressure you or push you by finding out what you really want. And also, a lot of times people just don't know what they want, so you learn how to ask the questions that people sort of examine it for themselves, right? Because if at the end of the day, we want you to get what you really deserve and what's going to work for you, right? So, um, I'm going to be available to you not just during business hours, because at the end of the day, it's just not always possible for you. For one thing, you're working or whatever. Maybe you're up in the middle of the night, or you just can't sleep, or it's late, and you think, oh, it's 10 o'clock, I can't call. You can call. Doesn't matter to me. You know what? Because I need you to feel good and not worried, and I need you to be able to sleep, and then I can sleep because I know you're satisfied, right? So if I'm wondering, oh, is my client upset with me, or I haven't heard from him in a while. Actually, I get worried about him. I just like, oh, maybe they don't want to come down here anymore. It's funny. We form a relationship, and I get excited too about all of it. I love looking through the properties. I always did it just for fun, way before I ever got into real estate. No matter where I lived or where I didn't live, I was always looking for places with a opportunities were. I've moved around quite a bit over the years. My work took me all over the place. So I was never afraid not to move around. I often came back to places, but I bought and sold a lot of properties over the years, just investment, fix them up, build an extra house on it, or do whatever, sell it. I really love it. I love property. So, I mean, that's basically my story. I'm just looking at my notes here because I don't have everything exactly. I just start rambling, so I got to try to put some order to it. But yeah, if you want someone who's going to blow smoke and tell you everything is perfect and rush you into the decision, treat who's going to treat it like it doesn't matter. If you're talking to someone who's doing that and pushing you along and treating it like it doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter, it's your first home. A lot of you, this is your vacation home, but a home is always a huge investment, right? And nobody wants to get pushed into anything, right? You want to find the place you want, sure, but also there's a lot more to it, and it's got to be on your time frame. So, a realtor's job is to make people happy, comfortable, and on their timeline. So really, to me, it doesn't matter if you want to buy a house tomorrow. Well, we better start looking, or maybe you know what you want. Come to me, no problem. But mostly, people are a little bit down the road. It takes at least get your feet wet and go look at some places. Leave the checkbook at home. Let's go check some places out. Get the feel. We'll go back to my office, debrief, get a feel for what's going on, because it always changes when you look at stuff. But what I'm trying to get at is about when you're in sales like this, and especially as a realtor, you want to keep people sort of what do they call it, in the pipeline, right? So like, it doesn't matter to me if you're going to purchase in 3 months, in 6 months, in a year. You're still a customer, you're still a client, you're just not quite ready yet. But hey, we could be looking at properties. You could keep your eye on the market, educate yourself to the prices. And I don't mind doing any of that stuff. I live and breathe this, so that's not an issue to me. So you're never going to get pushed by me. I'd say the only time I'm going to rush you is like, hey, we got to go to the Ontario. Today's our signing day or something. I don't like to be late for appointments, so I won't be late for yours either. But it's kind of funny. I think it's real important, just not to push people at all. I don't want to say that I'm not going to call you, especially in the beginning. I want to know, I want to find out, I want to see if you're looking and you're browsing on my site. I want to know what you're up to. Like, are you serious? Do you want to buy? Because then I can know what to do for you, right? If you're just browsing, I can send you stuff to browse. If you're looking and you're looking for down the road, I can give you sort of a market education, the different types of properties you want, send you some auto e-alerts for you to browse when you have time. It could come once a week, once a month, every day if you wanted, but I think it's overwhelming. What we need is give you sort of properties that are ultimately exactly what you're looking for, but you could start with a broader brush in the beginning, right? But that's really, I think, what's important. Yeah. What else can I tell you? I you know I've been doing this a while now, and people have yeah, a lot of the same questions. I try to answer most of them on here. I got some videos about it. I'm not this video, the purpose isn't about getting into any of that. The purpose for this video is just to talk to you guys and sort of let you know who I am, right? That's, I think, what that is something that common with everybody. I'll call them, I'll email them, I'll do whatever. They go on the website. The first thing to do is check my bio. And so that's why I started this YouTube channel, so that people can actually see who I am. That I'm, like I said, if you're looking for some shiny shoot salesman with all the punchlines and all the cliches, I'm just not your guy. I'm not gonna do that. If I let one slip out, okay. But really, that's not what I'm about. I'm just sort of a regular guy. I probably like a lot. Maybe we're alike in a lot of ways. Maybe we're not. I'm not a very super political guy because I just believe in live and let live mostly. I don't like to get all on this side or on that side too much. I really believe that we're all more alike than we are different. I learned a lot from a lot of people in Mexico are that way. Like, their politics, they're very passionate about the politics, but they don't end up hating their neighbor because they're of a different party or they voted for the different person for president, prime minister. Doesn't matter what it is. I just so I'm I think it's just really worn off on me living here. I guess and I met some really cool. A guru for me was my dear friend Bolo Prather, who he's a yoga instructor, but not stretching yoga off the mat, like the philosophy of it, more, kind of almost Buddhist, like just live and let live, being peaceful, the breathing for the sake of the mind, to let your, not to be reactive, but to just think and feel and just realize that we're all really all in this together. And I love that Mexico really brings that out. The Mexicans are very live by day for the moment. Let's not focus so much on the future that we miss out on the moment. So I try to be that kind of a guy. That being said, yeah, I like great things in life too. I love to be able to go ripping out on their quad up the mountain, or go horseback riding with a friend, which I haven't done forever. I love to go fishing. I love golfing. I love all that stuff. And who wouldn't and who doesn't? I love hanging on the beach. I love to go for a great dinner on the Malecon. Like anybody, you know, traveling. Who doesn't love all of that stuff? And you need money to do that. So, work's important. But, you know what? I've learned to sort of enjoy the day. So that's who I am, just in a nutshell. Briefly, uh, if any of this strikes a chord, great. Mostly, if you're thinking about Baja, you're thinking about Mexico, retirement in Mexico, I can tell you it's pretty sweet. It is not dangerous. The climate is great, the food is wonderful, the culture's wonderful. A lot of people are doing it. And, all it took for me was a trip down here, and I smelled that basil they were harvesting. And I was looking out my mom's window in her house across the way, and I saw a guy dragging his camper into this lot, and they were hacking their way in, cutting the desert plants out of the way. These bushy scrubs, not the beautiful cordons and the protected ones, but the just enough to get their camper into the property, so they could camp and start to build their house. And I went, well, look at that. There's another one here, and they're moving here too. I said, the only difference between those guys and myself is that they made a decision, right? And ultimately, that's what life is. You make a decision, and you if your life changes or your life moves along in a direction, you still are who you are. But where you are in your circumstance, that's all created right up here. It's all in your decisions that you make in your mind, and you create your own reality, right? So if you're thinking about it, you're thinking, I can't do that, think again. You can do anything you want to do. Look at me. Here I am living in paradise talking to you. And, you know, if you want to help, if you want my help getting a slice of it for yourself, feel free to contact me anytime. Okay? And you see my YouTube channel, hit the like, hit the subscribe. I appreciate it. But ultimately, like I said, I'm not the greatest blogger, but I do it just so you can know who I am. And if you have an idea for a video you'd like to see, or any questions, put them in the comments. I'll answer them. I'll make a video for you. Have a great day, and thanks for watching. Saludos.